Quiet on set. Picture is up. All right, roll sound.
Rolling.
Roll cameras.
Cams rolling.
And 3, 2.
Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Hank's Think Tank. And so we're continuing interviews for the City of Roman Forest for the City Council positions. Today I have LaChrystal Ricke in. She is running kind of against Jerry Reasoner. I hate to really say that. She's running for a position, but her opponent is Jerry Reasoner. And so we're going to talk a little bit about her qualifications and reason for running and get you guys familiar with who she is. So when you go to the polling place, you can make an intelligent choice. Good morning, LaChrystal.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Today's the first day of fall.
Well, it doesn't feel like it,
I know.
but maybe
Yeah.
we did get that little fake fall taste a couple of weeks ago.
There you go. Yeah, it's only like 98 degrees.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's coming.
It's coming.
Okay, so you're a resident of Roman Forest.
I am.
You're involved already
I am.
in a lot of the things in the city, and you decided to run for this position.
I did. So we really love Roman Forest. We've been here since 2018, and we really moved here. We grew up in a small town, and being in a smaller town close to the city was really appealing to us. And we have gotten involved in a lot of things when we're able to. We go to city council meetings, budget meetings, things like that. And so I, in the last year, have really thought about the ways that I could contribute to helping move our community forward, and how I could do that best is through being on city council and being able to work with not only the other council members, but also the community to help address some of the things that we would like to get done for ourselves.
Okay. So do you have any ideas of what you would like to champion as in your first term? Do you have
so many ideas, probably more ideas than I should have.
Yeah. What's the big thing?
I think the biggest thing is, how do we tackle the drainage problems? Our budget is quite tight, as everyone's really familiar with, especially in terms of what we can do with drainage. We've had some substantial flooding over the last couple of years. My neighbor specifically, he floods every time it feels like we get one drop of rain. And
yeah.
So drainage, I think, is the thing that is the most important to a lot of people here, and finding ways to fund the drainage improvements that don't come off the back of our citizens is really important to me. A lot of discussion tends to be with these big capital outlay projects that it has to come from taxes, or it has to come from a bond initiative. And I have a background in finance. I have a background in nonprofit work. I know there's a lot of grant money out there, and there are, specifically with drainage, there are federal grants, there are state grants, there are local grants. Many of the federal grants are targeted to smaller communities that don't have a huge budget to address these huge capital outlay projects. I believe the former city manager said that to really deal with drainage in our communities is about $500,000. And I think we all know that there's no way we're going to just come up with $500,000 to deal with this. And so one of the things I would really like to do is connect with people in the community that have a background in grant writing, or that have a background in helping write these budgets. I definitely know we have a citizen who's retired from finance in one of the airlines. He's great at numbers. Another thing that I think is important, and where I think I have a good skill set, is that I connect with a lot of people, both inside of our community, but also around our community. So I know, for example, the director of the H-Town Dream Center in Splendora, he's an amazing grant writer. And so finding time with him to get some direction for, like, how do we actually get the money?
Talking about Joshua Mason?
Yes, Joshua.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Joshua and his suit jackets.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I've met him, and he's done a really amazing job bringing that organization forward. And I also know he's very willing to spend time to help other organizations and communities be successful. So I think that's really where I put the bulk of my energy. Then I think the other thing that we have to always deal with, and what's always on the table, is the permitting process. People are sad and frustrated and annoyed, and
yeah, permitting's become a big issue.
it has become a big issue. And honestly, I think the biggest root of it, from even just my personal experience recently, is there's just a lot of different communication that comes about when you're talking about permitting. So we had a situation a few weeks ago with a whether or not something could be built along our fence line. And we went to City Hall for some guidance and for some help. We talked to the permit, the woman who does permits.
Mm-hmm.
We talked to Tony with code enforcement. We talked to Chief Carlisle, and we talked to Councilman Parton. All 4 of them told me something different. And so when you're dealing with a singular issue and you have 4 people tell you different things, it's quite confusing and it's quite frustrating. And while I know the staffing for dealing with permitting, we have a lot of permits happening, and it's difficult to get that done in the limited amount of time that she has. I think that some communication and some clarity around what you actually need a permit for and what you actually need an inspection for, and having 4 people within the city tell you 4 different things is really, it was quite frustrating for me.
Yeah.
And so I definitely imagine that other residents are feeling the same way.
Yeah.
I think it's because it fell under code enforcement, and I do appreciate that Chief Carlisle came out, because we did have, it was...
Oh, he's a super helpful
yeah,
dude.
he was
He's
super
always
helpful.
there.
Yeah, he was super helpful, and he helped clarify both for myself and the other party involved. So I do appreciate that, but I just think that, it took 2 days. It literally took me 2 entire days of kind of dealing with this, and it's frustrating. It was frustrating for me, so I imagine that other people in our community feel a similar frustration. So just finding a way to streamline where we're able to clarify for people. I don't know if you've ever pulled up the permit guide on the website.
Honestly, I haven't.
It's intense. It's a lot of pages. It's hard to
really?
find things. It's not very easy to search it. And so I find a lot of times if we can just clarify process and communication for people, then you can deal. You're not gonna make everyone happy, but you can definitely deal with some of the frustration.
Yeah, it sounds like a tough process.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
those are my 2 big shiny ideas, would be drainage and permitting.
So getting back to flooding, and I'm just asking.
Sure.
Being that flooding isn't just a local issue with just Roman Forest. It's everywhere in Montgomery County.
Sure.
It's kind of a regional issue.
It is.
I wonder how much can actually be solved in Roman Forest proper itself versus trying to hit it from a more regional perspective.
Yeah. That's a great
I
question.
I'm a proponent of a flood control district, even though it'd be
Absolutely.
another taxing authority.
Sure.
I still think it'd be a good idea, and eventually we're gonna have to go that way, regardless of whether people want to do it or not.
Sure.
It's gonna happen sooner or later.
Yeah, I think that there are micro issues and macro issues.
Yeah,
right.
there you go.
So on a micro level, I think it's important to figure out what can we do at this point.
Yeah.
What I know specifically that the outflow behind Whispering Pines has washed out. I've been back there. There's no outflow anymore. And so what could we do on a smaller level to at least create some immediate relief for our neighborhood?
Yeah, and at least get some people out of trouble, out of detriment.
Yeah, at least get some people out of trouble, and at least kind of start moving forward incrementally. But I also think that helps when we go after larger kind of more macro issues, that we're also trying to serve ourselves, right?
Yeah.
We're not just going out and saying, okay, well, this is a federal issue. This is a Sandjack issue. This is this person's issue, whatever. We can say, okay, we realize that this is a larger issue. Here are the things that we've done within our own community to mitigate the problem. And now it's very clear that, it's a bigger issue and we need to kind of step outside our boundaries.
There you go. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about qualifications.
Sure.
Have you ever held an elected position before?
I haven't actually held an elected position, but I have a really kind of interesting background that has brought me to this place.
Okay.
So my initial background and where I started my career I was a college professor, higher education. It's actually what brought me here. So I was at Sam Houston.
What'd you teach?
I taught in mass media and mass communication. So I taught all kinds of media things. I got to meet Dan Rather, super exciting.
Yeah.
The building that we were in was the Dan Rather School of Mass Media, and so it was really exciting when he came to campus. And I loved working with students and teaching them. I actually taught script writing. I taught radio broadcast. A lot of media law and ethics, because that's really important and really dicey when you start getting into social media.
Does that still exist? It's just a joke.
Well, yeah. The hard part with law is that it's so far behind where we are. I don't think anyone envisioned how to make laws for TikTok.
How to navigate social media. It's impossible.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So, but the root of my my education there was in political communication, political media, and specifically my love, which is political engagement. And that was helping people understand, the rights and responsibility that come with being a citizen, helping young people specifically get registered to vote and know if you're a resident, here's where you have to vote. If you're out of state, here's how soon you have to ask for your ballot, and really encouraging that I work with the nonpartisan group, the League of Women Voters. I don't know if you've heard about them.
Yes.
They're amazing women. They work very hard. They run a website called Vote 411, which is really important. People can check their voter registration status. A lot of people think that they're registered, and they might not be.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that your voter ID card has to exactly match your driver's license, and if it doesn't, you can be turned away. And so a lot of what we do, obviously encouraging people to get registered, but really more answering questions and making sure you know where your polling place is. Here in a couple of weeks, our ballots will be online, so we can read them ahead of time, and so we're not, under fire in the tiny, stressful little booth trying to figure out what we want to do.
Right.
And so that part's really important. And then, in my career took a bit of a left turn about 10 years ago, and I moved into the corporate world. And there, right now, I'm the managing director of a market research firm, specifically working in the financial arena. So I have a really strong background in finance, in budgeting, in project management, and making sure that the projects meet the budget. And if we're going to go over, we know that ahead of time, so we don't have this moment where we don't have enough funds. One of the things I think was really successful at this year and will help with a position when we're dealing with a sizable budget, this is I was able to cut 15% out of our operating budget just by looking for redundancies, just looking for places where we were probably paying two companies to do kind of a similar thing, or renegotiating contracts. I think one of the things that we tend to fail at as humans is that, they tell us this is the price and we're like, okay, that's the price. And instead of going back and saying, okay, well, we've been a customer for 5 years. What kind of discounts can we get? Or what kind of bundles? Or a lot of times they have a new program and we just didn't know about it. That happens with cell phones and internet and all of that. We just pay whatever we pay. And then we'd never go back and say, hey, is there a better way to do this? So we were able to cut about 15% out of our operating budget with no impact to our ability to do our jobs, no impact to salaries or anything like that. So I think that in the last few years, I've been able to really get the financial knowledge that really helps me see a bigger picture and to understand how to just kind of work with budgets a little bit.
Okay. That's fantastic.
Thanks.
Sounds really good.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So anything else that you would like to take on? And let me give you an example.
Sure.
Recently, the city experienced, we lost city secretary.
Sure.
Then our finance manager resigned, and now the city administrators resigned. So it kind of leaves one person, I think, on the city side.
Sure.
Left to run things. So, from the outside looking in, it would appear that there's something going on.
Sure.
Can you speak to any of that, or?
I mean, I definitely don't know people's motivations, and I definitely know that people have the reasons for making the decisions that they do, whether for themselves or for their family. What I would say, though, is that it's actually a really interesting and incredible opportunity for us. We're bringing in new people. We're going to have some new, we have this election where citizens have the option to decide who's going to help run the city on city council. And so I think we're actually, while I understand stressful, transition's always stressful, change is always stressful.
Yeah, absolutely.
We also have a new window to really create some nice synergy between the people that are coming in and city council, and really a unique opportunity to sit down at the forefront of something and say, okay, what are our goals? What are our collective goals? What are our collective responsibilities? And how can we work from the get to kind of start addressing some of these things. A lot of times it's difficult if you have a status quo. This is how it's been. So a lot of times people don't want to change that. And so maybe we have a unique opportunity, instead of looking at it as a deficit, to say, okay, well, we have a really unique opportunity to bring some new leadership in, to work with city council, and to really say at the very beginning, okay, great, new city manager, okay, new city finance person, here are our goals. How would you help us accomplish those? I think those are really important things that we should be asking in the interviews and the conversations with these new candidates for the actual administration positions.
Okay, fantastic. Anything else in the sights besides flooding and permitting?
Yeah, I think that, so one of the other things that I love kind of helping and talking to people about how we can better utilize our green space. I think that's really important. We have a lot of new families moving into the neighborhood. And
Roman Forest has grown. It's weird because years ago I thought they were kind of landlocked.
Yeah.
But then they went ahead and annexed Section 4, and that just kind of opened things up.
Yeah.
And now it just seems like its growth is crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah. And I think with that, we have to be thoughtful about what people want in their neighborhood. We want parks. We want green space. We want that park equipment. I was told, I have no verification of this, but I was told that park equipment's at least 20 years old. And I
would think it's close to that.
Yeah. And, obviously I haven't lived here that long. And so I think there's a real opportunity in that space to engage some of our citizens and say, hey, like, how can we make these better? Where can we go and look for funding? I know Jerry brought up Hubbard Park. That's definitely something that we should have been addressing for many years now. And there are tons of grants and things like that out there. I did some quick research because I like to have numbers. So there are 11 national organizations that offer some kind of funding for green space or parks. There's 10 state organizations because, sometimes it's nice to get a little more at the local level. And then specifically, I found 9 state organizations that provide grants for playground equipment. And in those situations, I think that we tend to go in and say, okay, well, we need $400,000 to do the whole playground. We don't necessarily need that. What if we go to one grant and say, okay, for this grant, we're going to try to get a new swing set. And with this grant, we're going to try to get these other couple piecemeal it together. I think that I also volunteer with I volunteer with the Junior League. And last week I was talking to one of the other women that I volunteer with, and she is on HOA board in another community. I know HOA is a dirty word. I'm not suggesting at all we get anywhere near an HOA. But she's on a board for HOA, and her responsibility on that board is updating the playground equipment and specifically bringing in some playground equipment for otherly abled children. And she told me, well, there's grants with places you don't even think about. So she got a grant from the American Association of Physical Therapists for some playground equipment because movement is good. And so
makes sense. Yeah. Connecting
with people, I'm well aware I don't have all the information, but I think it's really important to find ways to connect with other people that may have other information and differing information. And all of that came over a casual conversation at dinner, that here's something I'm excited about with my candidacy. And she said, oh, I'm going to send you some research about some alternative places that you may not just think about to go after that. So I would love to see us be able to get some of the green space work that I know City Council has been wanting to do. I've had a couple of council people bring it up since last year. And so, but I think at the end of the day, Hank, we have a really amazing resource in our community that is our people. We have very smart people that live around us. Oh, yeah. And pulling on them and asking for their help and engaging them in the process, including them in the process, I think is really important. And I think we can accomplish a lot of things if we can really kind of focus in as a community on the strengths that we already have and how we can just use those things to help move us all forward.
Okay, fantastic. So do you have a website, or do you have anything that you put together for your campaign?
Sure. So I made a Facebook page, a community Facebook page. It is Dr. LaChrystal Ricke candidate page. I've had a couple of people ask me some questions, so I love that. And definitely I'm trying to just kind of put some ideas out there, put some engagement out there. I'm really interested in what the community wants and what they're after and what they're looking for. I definitely think it's important to engage. And honestly, I'm a very honest and transparent person. If I don't know or I can't do it, I will tell you. I'm not going to pretend that I'm have all the keys to knowledge or that I'm able to, fix our drainage issues in the first month single-handedly. But I definitely want to know what people are interested in. Okay. And I think that that's really important. I also have a personal email address, which is lc4council@lcricke.com. It's my own.
Is that FOR or the number 4?
It's just a 4.
Okay.
And so I am definitely happy to engage with people. I know not everyone's comfortable on social media, so definitely, send me an email, ask me a question, and I can email that, or I'll send you that so you can, when you put the video up, if you want to put that in the description. It's really helpful. And I've had some people direct message me on the page and ask some questions and ask, my plans on things. And I'm transparent and honest. I am excited to use the things I know how to do to help make our community better.
Okay. What about signage and meet the candidates and stuff like that?
Sure.
You got anything like that going on?
Yeah, so I have signs coming.
Okay.
I don't know when. I ordered them. They're on their way. I'm at the mercy of the postal system,
Yeah.
as
Been
are
there.
Yeah.
most
most of us right now.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they come. I definitely would love to set up something with Meet the Candidate. I just
Okay.
came off of a big weekend of volunteering, and so I needed to kind of reset. I volunteer 5 times a year with a local city organization that helps families get their pets spayed and neutered for free. And so I kind of try to not overwhelm myself with plans right at the same time. So
Sure.
so now we're at the point we're coming in on the coming up on the election. It's important to get out there and set up some time to meet people. And again,
for
people
sure.
are more than welcome to ask questions on the page, send me an email. I'm always at City Council when I'm able to be there, and so super happy to talk to people.
Okay, fantastic. Anything else that you'd like to add? So I'm the average voter guy.
Sure.
Haven't made a decision,
Sure,
but I know that I need to vote for somebody.
sure.
And, there's a choice. So
Absolutely.
What would you say to that individual?
I would say to that individual to really think about the things that are the most important to you in terms of the quality of your life within our city. Are you being impacted by drainage? Are you being impacted by roads? Would you like a nicer park? How impacted were you by the budget? Those types of things, and really ask the questions that address those issues.
Okay.
I think many times we don't necessarily dig into what are the policies, what are the plans when we're voting. And I think issue voting is really important because ultimately we want the candidates in there that have at least the beginnings of a plan to make those things better for us.
Okay, fantastic. Well, LaChrystal, I appreciate you coming
Absolutely.
down.
I appreciate
So
you having me.
I'm planning on holding a forum for the
Perfect.
candidates at the City of Roman Forest. We did last time around.
Sure. Yeah, it was
and
great.
it went off okay. I'm going to change it up a little bit this time, but
Sure.
I invite you to come.
Absolutely. I would love
Don't
to.
have a date yet, but I think it's
Perfect.
going to be sometime in October.
That sounds great. I would love to do it.
And and I've got some more interviews coming up too.
Perfect.
But I appreciate you coming in. I think you're a
appreciate you having
viable
me.
candidate for
Thank
sure.
you. I appreciate that.
So
I hope them. I don't think I would put myself out there if I didn't think I had something to offer, something concrete to offer to make things better for our community.
there you go. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. LaChrystal Ricke, and she is definitely a viable candidate. She's put a lot of thought into this. I would get in touch with her if you have questions. If you just want to hear her voice, get to know her, and shake her hand. It's always a good thing to do. See, we got to be educated voters. We can't just pull the crank anymore for whatever direction you want to vote in. So I look forward to seeing you at the open forum that we're going to do. I'll send everybody a date, and I'll probably end up doing a video about it as well. I'm Hank Vatt. This is Hank's Think Tank, and see you in the next one.